I love things like this. This happened 250 years ago, and people still care. Hello, what's the crack? What's the story? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're checking out UK troops led British soldier killed in US nearly 250 years ago to rest. What? Let's go.
A 21st century funeral for an 18th century Highlander on American soil.
We gather to recognize, memorialize, and reinter the earthly remains of 13 of the 14 found hastily buried in this dirt.
Thousands turned out in South Carolina to mourn, and it was a funeral like no other. Honouring British and American sacrifices from the 18th century after archaeologists made a remarkable discovery. On this soil in 1780, the Battle of Camden claimed the lives of thousands. It was one of many hard-fought conflicts against British rule that eventually led to the creation of the United States of America.
This is not only a once-in-a-career, but never-in-a-career opportunity. So it's been such an honor and a privilege to be able to help understand who these individuals were and how they may have died. The Highlander was our deepest buried individual, much more than the other individuals. Some people were this far below the surface. You could really witness from the burial context how hastily buried they were, and historical accounts of some not having been buried at all.
This is absolutely remarkable. I love things like this. This happened 250 years ago, and people still care. This is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. What? And the fact that these people were fighting against each other, it was the US against the United Kingdom. But for some reason, the fact that we're still able to put that aside, the fact that they were fighting back then, obviously today everything is nice today. Like not caring about what happened in the past and just being able to come together. I love that. I think that was mainly the US Army carrying the coffin. I think that's beautiful. That's beautiful to see. Because at the end of the day, it's just one human race. It doesn't matter where you're from. Do you know what I mean? I love things like this. Beautiful, beautiful.
The day that we exhumed him, someone brought a bottle of scotch to commemorate the event and give him a toast.
Soldiers from 2nd Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland, flew over especially to be pallbearers for the remains of one of those unearthed here. His heritage traces back to the British 71st Regiment of Foot, Fraser's Highlanders, a Scottish regiment formed for the Revolutionary War.
It's something that's very humbling and I think thought-provoking in terms of thinking back at the history, and then also hundreds of years later being able to be involved in giving the soldier the send-off he deserves is something that I'll be proud in years to come of.
Across all three services, we have 850 service personnel across 30 states out here, working and literally, hand in glove, the closest military relationship we have, working extremely closely with all of the US services. It's a relationship we really cherish.
So we're all operationally experienced soldiers, but to lay a soldier to rest in the battlefield where he died almost 250 years ago, I think adds a sense of significance for us, and it's not lost on us that we've got soldiers in our battalion who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in recent operations.
Again, this is why you might see a lot of kids that are going into the army or wherever today. Imagine seeing this, knowing that if something happens to you 200 years later, people still care. Because these people literally shaped the way we're living today. Whether you like it or not, they shaped it. Literally. Do you know what I mean? People caring for their country. Do you know what I mean? Like, the Americans fought obviously for their independence and just having that independence. The UK fought, with the Americans. I don't really know the full details. But the fact that we're able to leave as one today, it's beautiful. I love that. And just being able to just do this in general, I feel like it's something that I'm sure 250 years ago, these soldiers would never have thought this would have happened. Do you know what I mean? So it's just beautiful in general. And I keep saying beautiful because it is beautiful. I'm sorry. Let's go.
As well.
We're just mesmerized by the fact that Great Britain chose to fly them here from Scotland to do this. I think for both nations, it's important to reconnect with our history and understand who we are, how we got here, how then we transition from enemies to close friends. And the mood in the town of Camden and in Columbia yesterday It's just palpable.
In the days before the ceremony, a convoy carrying the soldiers passed through the local community, giving people of all ages the chance to pay their respects.
We read the information and we knew what was to be expected, but I just wasn't prepared for the emotions of it all, because there was not a pin, you could not hear a thing drop out here. It was silence.
We're headed to Fort Jackson. That's where all of the US Army's soldiers do their basic training, and we're expecting to see hundreds of them come out to pay their respects to the soldiers in what will be the finale of the convoy. And it's just been incredible to see the response, to see the connection. And what a turnout when they arrived. Hundreds of personnel were keen to catch a glimpse of the convoy. Fort Jackson's commander, Brigadier General Kelly, was moved by the chance to honour them.
That's right, our ancestors.
So what more do we know about the British soldier? I've come to meet a former US Army sergeant who's now a reenactor and military historian.
It probably enlisted in 1775, 1776. So he had already been soldiering for 4 to 5 years. And the 71st, they marched everywhere. They covered the entire state of South Carolina at one time. So the British Army always used them as the shock unit coming into a battle because they were greatly feared.
What do you think he would have made of all of this?
So they were used to death. Death was an everyday occurrence and a partner in their life. So I think he would have been happy to see it as a ghost standing there going, yeah, I appreciate that, chaps.
The remains of the American soldiers will be kept with the US Army and the Highlander with the South Carolina Battleground Trust until a cemetery can be created at the site where they will all be buried together. Jean Gueschek, Forces News, Camden, South Carolina. If you enjoyed this...
That's life in a nutshell. They fought together, they're getting buried together. See, that's just life. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? I'm so happy that we as a human race, we've come a long way. Do you know what I mean? Like, who would have thought? They would have thought, literally, they would have, I think, back then, that they'll be buried together. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. I like that. And just the relationship between UK and the US, I love that relationship. Do you know what I mean? It's just great to see. It's great to see. Let me know if there's anything like this you want to see. I love stuff like this. Kind of, it makes me, believe that there's faith in humanity, and I love that. Make sure you like, comment down below, subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.